Imagine snapping your leg bone 100 miles from the nearest shelter with no painkillers and no doctor. You are running, you stepped wrong, a sharp crack, you fall. Pain explodes up your leg, you look down. Your shin is bent where it should be straight. That is a compound fracture. Bone has broken through skin. Blood pools in the dirt. Do you know what happens next? Flies find the wound. You are alone. You are miles from your band. No one knows where you are. No one is coming. You have no water. You have no tools. You have only your hands. What would you do? The sun is hot. Dust sticks to your skin. You need to set the bone. You need to clean the wound. You need to stop the bleeding. But you cannot move. Every shift makes you scream. The pain is a wave that drowns thought. You have nothing to splint with, no sticks, no cloth, no medicine. Just your own body. Your leg is a trap. How long can you last? A broken femur takes 3 to 4 months to heal. That is with rest and care. You have neither. Your body will try. It will grow new bone. But the ends are not aligned. They will knit wrong. Imagine the infection. Infection will follow. Fever will set in. Aye! You will die in days, not months. The fracture is not the killer. But that's not all. The aftermath is the wound, the infection, the immobility. Picture this, you cannot hunt. You cannot move to water. You cannot defend yourself. Every predator is a threat. Every hour is a countdown. But the real problem isn't the pain, it's what comes next. The infection spreads without a sound. Your skin burns hot. The wound smells of rot. Your body eats itself. You cannot even lift your head. Thirst becomes a second enemy. The sky turns black. You hear your own heartbeat, then silence. You are alone with it. The break is done. The bone is now a weapon inside your body. Sharp edges slice through muscle and blood vessels. Internal bleeding starts slowly. You cannot see it, but your body feels the loss. Your heart races to compensate. Your vision dims. That is hypovolemic shock creeping in. Now the body is under siege. Then the real enemy arrives, bacteria. Yet they were always there. Your skin is covered in it. A tiny cut lets them in. Open fractures are the worst. Picture the bone tearing through skin. The bone punches through flesh. Dirt, grass, debris enter the wound. The clock is ticking. Within hours, the microbes multiply. Your immune system fights. It loses. But the body still fights. Infection turns your own tissue into poison. Pus forms. The wound swells. Fever climbs. How high can it go? Sepsis begins. The truth is, it's a cascade. Your organs start shutting down one by one. What about a simple crack? No skin broken? You think you are safe. You are not. Immobility is its own killer. You cannot walk. But can you even move? You cannot hunt. You cannot fetch water. Your group may leave you behind. If they stay, they drain their own resources. Starvation arrives in days. Dehydration kills faster. Blood clots form in your immobilized leg. Here's the thing. A clot breaks free. It travels to your lungs, pulmonary embolism. Sudden death in minutes. That is the hidden anatomy of a broken bone. The fracture itself is just the first domino. The rest fall in silence. Imagine that. You lie there, bleeding inside, feverish, thirsty, unable to move. But the war is silent. Your body is now a battlefield you cannot see. How many hours do you have? Every lost hour gives the enemy more ground. Now picture the worst. Without modern medicine, even a simple break could turn into a death sentence. Here's how. The bone splinters travel. They lodge in soft tissue. Each movement grinds them deeper. Pain becomes a constant companion. Your body burns calories fighting infection. You have none to spare. Starvation accelerates. Your muscles waste away. Your joints stiffen. Pressure sores form on your back. Now they rot. Maggots may arrive. They clean the wound, but also bring new bacteria. You cannot roll over. You cannot swat them away. Your mind begins to drift. Delirium sets in. You confuse day and night. Your group sees the signs. They know what comes next. Without modern medicine, even a simple break could turn into a death sentence. Here's how. Your group acts fast. They have no doctor. But they have experience. You find a straight branch. Thick enough to hold? You tear strips of leather. Or sinew from a recent kill. Someone holds your leg. They pull. You scream. The bone slides back into place. That is the first victory. Then comes the pain. You cannot stop it. But you can dull it. Someone hands you a handful of leaves. Willow bark. You chew. The bitterness fills your mouth. The active ingredient is salicin. It becomes salicylic acid in your body. The same chemical in modern aspirin. It works. The fire in your bone dims. Now you lie still. Days turn into weeks. Your group brings you water. They bring food. They build a shelter over you. They scare away wolves. They change your bandages. They clean the wound with boiled water, not sterile, but better than nothing. Did you know your bone can heal itself? Even a shattered one. Given the right conditions. But those conditions are rare. Archaeologists find ancient skeletons. Some show healed fractures. Splint still in place. Picture the pain. Evidence of care, of survival. Now look closer. Social cooperation is the real medicine. One person gathers herbs. Another hunts. Another watches for predators. Imagine their burden. You become the center of their effort. They rotate duties. But for how long? They keep you alive. Without them, you are just meat. A broken animal waiting to die. But with them, you have a chance. The splint holds, the herbs soothe, the group endures, you heal. But these methods only worked if you had a community. If you didn't, the real test began. You heal. But the scar stays. A ridge in the bone. A reminder of the break. If you are alone, there is no one to pull. No one to bring willow bark. No one to guard you while you sleep. You lie where you fall. The bone sets wrong. Or it never sets. Infection sets in. Fever follows. You cannot hunt. Now the spiral tightens. You cannot gather. You cannot even crawl. Your chances drop fast. A fractured femur without help is a death sentence. Blood loss, shock, dehydration. Predators smell weakness. They wait. You become a meal before the bone heals. Archaeologists see this too. Picture the scene. Skeletons found alone. No splint. No signs of nursing. Just a broken bone that never mended. The person died alone. No one to hold the leg. No one to hand the leaves. That is the other story. The one without community. The one where the ordeal truly began. But these methods only worked with a community, and without one, a new ordeal began. A snap echoes through the forest, or a cave, or a battlefield. The bone breaks. Now the real work begins. Blood vessels rupture instantly. A pool of blood forms between the fragments. This hematoma is the first step. It clots, creating a temporary scaffold. Yet the real battle hasn't started. Inflammation arrives within hours. Swelling is not a flaw. It is a delivery system. Immune cells flood the site. Imagine a cleanup crew. They clear dead tissue. They fight infection. Without inflammation, healing stops. Then comes the callus. First, soft cartilage bridges the gap. But this bridge is only temporary. Like a patch on a tire. This takes about a week. Cells called chondroblasts build it. They work in low oxygen. Picture the final stage. The break is now stable. But cartilage is weak. So the body replaces it. Hard callus forms from woven bone. Now the real work begins. Calcium deposits harden the bridge. How does it hold? This takes weeks. The bone is now splinted. But remodeling hasn't started. Remodeling begins. It lasts months or years. Picture a slow transformation. Osteoclasts carve away rough edges. Osteoblasts lay down strong lamellar bone. The shaft reshapes itself. The fracture line disappears. The bone regains strength. But not everyone heals. Non-union happens when the gap is too large, or when blood supply fails, or when infection sets in. The two ends never meet. The bone stays broken. A false joint may form. This brings pain and immobility. Ancient people could not fix this. Even when the bone knits, the scar tissue can leave you permanently crippled. Why did evolution leave us so fragile? Yet they tried. They set bones with splints. They used natural casts. Healing still relied on the body. Non-union meant a flopping limb. A false joint brought constant pain. Infection could kill, but healing often bent the bone, muscle atrophied, the joint stiffened. Scar tissue bound tendons. Range of motion shrank. The heel fracture still limited survival. A hunter could not throw. A gatherer could not run. The body's repair was functional, not perfect. But evolution had its own logic. Evolution favored speed. A quick patch kept you alive. Perfection took too long, so the scar remained. That is the trade-off, always. And then the question, even when the bone knits, the scar tissue can leave you permanently crippled. Why did evolution leave us so fragile? So you wonder, what if the bone never healed? What if infection set in? The pain was unrelenting. Your body was failing. But your mind refused to give up. And from that refusal came invention. You grab a sharp stone. You carve a hole in your own skull. Why? To release the pressure inside? To let the demons out. It sounds insane, but it worked. Skulls from 10,000 years ago show clean holes. The bone grew back. People survived. Now imagine the leg that cannot be saved. The wound goes black. The smell tells you everything. You must cut it off, no anesthesia, no antiseptic. You tie a leather strip above the wound. You saw through flesh and bone. The shock alone could kill you. But some made it. Here is a fact. The oldest known amputation comes from Borneo. 31,000 years ago, a child lost their foot. The bone shows clear signs of healing. Someone cut cleanly. Someone prevented infection. Someone kept the wound covered. That child lived for years afterward. Yet, how did they do it? And then you build a replacement. A wooden toe from ancient Egypt. A bronze leg from 300 years before Christ. The oldest known prosthetic limb is a Roman metal foot. It would not as a crutch. Sig. It was a signal. I am still here. Here's the thing. These early surgeries were brutal, but they gave us a glimpse of something deeper. Our refusal to accept a broken fate. You survive the break. The bone heals. But something else happens. Someone stayed with you. They brought water. They kept predators away. This is not just biology. This is the birth of empathy. Now, imagine. Our ability to care for the injured changed everything. It forced us to communicate, to share resources, to plan for the long term. We needed each other to survive. The broken bone became a social contract, yet it binds. You care for me now. I will care for you later. This trust built tribes. Tribes built civilizations. And here is the strangest truth, but look closer. Neanderthals also healed their wounded. They splinted fractured arms. They nursed the elderly. Compassion is ancient, older than tools, older than cities. It predates our species. Picture the wound. The wound might have killed you instead and made you part of something bigger, a community. A network of care. That's the legacy. More than medical progress. But the understanding that alone we break. Together we heal. It taught us to care.